You know what? I am getting started way later than usual. It's been one of those damn hectic days where I'm running from one end of town to the other. And for some damn reason, and I know it's just not this state alone, but our economy has grown 19%, I think, in the last 5 years. Some outrageous number like that. And I can't see how. I mean, you know, I can't say it's blessed, and you know what? I much rather have my stepfather than anything that he would have left behind for me and my family. But um, houses here in Denver and Lakewood, which I could walk 15 feet, 20 feet, cross the street, turn the corner, and boom, I'm in Lakewood. Cross the street back the other way, I'm in Denver. So yeah, I border the cities, and let me tell you, taxes vary greatly. Um, my point and what I'm leading to with that is traffic, traffic, traffic. You get one mess up, and you're waiting for at least an hour. So if you're planning on moving to Denver, really think about getting a prescription for, I don't know, whatever calms anxiety or road rage. I don't know if they even invented a pill like that, but if they did, take it. Anyways, so yeah, I had been making some promises that, I'm going to update the computer. I'm going to learn how to use this green screen, which of course you can't see behind me. And it's a work in progress. I've only had the green screen for 2 days, and I only went out and bought uh, two, what was it? Two 16 by 32 uh, cards. And come to find out, I only had two 4 gigabyte cards for a total of 8 that I was running before. So I could see this running a lot smoother now. But let me see if I get the same transition when I go into, editing and all that. So I like the fact that the people that have stayed and continue to watch my videos, um, you guys are just fucking awesome, for real. I appreciate it more than anything, and I showed my appreciation to one of the few who answered my call. Now I don't know if you guys thought I was full of shit or something, but when I said, "Hey, I'm gonna do a giveaway," just first person to tell me what they want, and give me a place where they feel comfortable for me to send it. It's on their way. And the first person told me they wanted it, but I never was able to get a PO box or anything. I'm not trying to make people feel uncomfortable. So they said I can mail it to a PO box, your work, whatever. I don't care. So another person spoke up, and she got. I'm gonna pause it real quick, but I'm gonna show you what she got. So she requested this: a Nighthawk, well, a Netgear Nighthawk. And where did my phone go? Darn it! I'll show you something pretty cool. See, I doubled down before I got this computer because I was running it mostly off of the laptop. But I had went out and bought the granddaddy modem of them all. That sucker was a pretty penny, but there is no way in hell any one of you should be paying that much for uh, freaking a modem, a rental, a Wi-Fi router combo. I know they're popular, they're easy, simplistic, but you do save some money over time if you're just go out and buy a modem. It may not pay for itself in the first year, but that modem's going to last a couple of years before they really update the shit out of it. And this modem that I got, it's top notch. Like, I knew, okay, just like a car, just like anything else, they're going to come out with another one next year, but I'm not going to let it top this one, damn it. And I stood fast to that. So I got that. Then I got the same type of, got the exact same type of router that this individual won. And she was just, well, and let the hey, they, them, I let the cat out of the bag there. She's been a subscriber. She's, you know, contributed a lot of comments, which I really appreciate. And I do that for any of my subscribers, you know. Participate, man. And for real, I'm not the type of person just to say, oh yeah, I'm ready to give something out and then not give shit out. That's stupid. I mean, you know, she's a living testament to that. And, you know, her and I are going to do a Zoom call because I'm sure she thought that I was just, you know, just saying it just to say it. But no, to get back to my conversation, if you have this Eris surfboard, that is a granddaddy of them all right there. And then you have this Wi-Fi 6 Nighthawk. I mean, it's a bad boy. So I went out and I purchased my first, I guess, gift for anybody who I was going to say, you know what? I'm going to do a giveaway. First, I was going to do an Xbox Elite controller. But then, since I hate Xbox so much, I sold that off to somebody. I'm a PlayStation fan through and through. These colors don't run. And then, what was the other gift I was going to give? Shit. I'm trying to get to that. My goodness. Well, the point is this, is that, oh, this was the second one I was going to give out. Nobody spoke up for that either. And I called for a crowd so badly for anybody to speak up. Nobody said anything. So I have it here, right here, about to tell me who's going to knock on my Ring doorbell that's not even set up yet. So, yeah, that's not really cool. But here is the second. You know, if I keep on doing this shit all night, I'll be here forever. Where is it? But yeah, there's a second router. I had some credit, not credit, but what do you call it? Store credit left over from a return I did on the first piece of shit modem I got until they recommended that bad boy. I said, hell yeah, let's do it. And yeah, just got that second one and she won it. So I'll be having her as a guest on a Zoom call. And, you know, I appreciate you very much. You have supported me from the very beginning. And you continue to show me support and love. And I appreciate that very much. My girl appreciates that very much. I'm trying to grow this thing. You guys come along with me. I'm not trying to buy anyone's affection or buy your views, but you know, every once in a great while, yeah, when I do a giveaway, speak up loud and clear. I'll be like, hey, look, I'm giving away a pack of magic cards. You guys want a pack of magic cards? First one to speak up, we'll get a pack of magic cards. I can't guarantee that they're good or bad, but hey, pack of magic cards it is. You either get that one or the big 32-inch one, because I seem to fall into this shit a lot. I'm a huge collector, man. If you wanted to see my comic book collection, that's my pride and joy. Anyways, let's hop in this film because this is one of the subjects that I heard from another content creator, but I know he did nowhere near good as well as Mike. So let's give it up for our Irish friend.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, I am taking you with me all the way to Hollywood. More like Hollyweird, am I right? Right? Classic. Because this story is very bizarre. This is the tale of a thrill seeker, like seeking the ultimate. His name was Michael Gargiulo, but you might know him better as the Boy Next Door Killer or the Hollywood Ripper. He has, Hollywood in his name, but he started a long time before he got there. Growing up in, in the suburbs of Chicago, described even back then as inhuman. So we're off to a great start there, and an even better end. So, buckle up. And before we get into it, please subscribe to see new crime videos from...
Should he even be saying that? Any one of you who watch his videos, subscribe to him, like it, donate to him if you can. This dude deserves it. He is, by far, the best content creator. He doesn't bitch that other people, will react off his videos. You get some of these guys who I just found out recently was very disappointed. Nuke's top 5 or top 10. Going around telling people like, hey, can you wait a little while before you react to my video? I mean, they're taking other shit from people, putting it together, and that I see. They're putting in the effort to compile it, but then they're putting a copyright on it. You don't own the fucking material. You owned what you did, and I know what you did is what is being publicized to the masses, but technically those stories belong, and maybe the next person who hears, on Nuke's top 10 or whatever, dub his voice out and put your own voice in, make your own script. They can't get you for that because it's not his actual material.
This lad every week. Now let's give it a go. A 30-minute drive north from Chicago brings you to the small, unincorporated village of Glenview. It's really a suburb of the city. Houses. Wow. It's a nice place to live, wealthy enough with easy access to downtown. Right, okay, great. Really, the main thing you need to know is that is where Michael Gargiulo grew up, and it's also where his first victim lived. Tricia Boccaccio was just 18 years old in the year 1993, born in 1975. She was just about ready to graduate from Glenbrook South High School, where she was on the debate team and in the high school band and was really active in communities. She was energetic and she was ready to use that energy in Purdue University, where she was getting ready, she had gotten accepted and she was ready to go. But on the night of, or rather the early morning of, the 14th of August, 1993, all that came crashing down. She had been out at one of the last high school parties, before everybody went their separate ways, and so she arrived back home at around 1 a.m. And as she was walking, up the driveway of her house, her key in hand, ready to unlock the side door, she was attacked. This happened literally in her garden with her parents and her siblings fast asleep inside the house.
God.
Someone came up behind her that dark August night and stabbed her in the heart, lungs, stomach, arm, and back. Her left arm had been twisted so forcefully, it snapped. And then the killer just left her there. The next morning, her dad, Rick, he was out, ready, with the dog for a morning walk, and that was when he found his daughter just lying there completely covered in blood.
I'd be fucked up for so long.
Her house key was still in her hand. Tricia's killer would remain unknown for almost 2 decades, even though he lived a 4-minute walk away and knew the family, and he had been in their house many, many times and was friends with Tricia's younger brother, Doug. He had eaten at their table many times. He would play football regularly with Doug, and after the murder of Tricia, he would still show up at the house all the time. He would even send the family gifts like flowers, a shirt, a voucher, all that. The family thought that was weird as shit. The Boccaccios would eventually move out of that house for like 4 years. They just couldn't bear to be there anymore, you know, with a constant reminder of what happened to Trisha. But in 1997, they eventually moved back into that same house. Now, DNA was found under Trisha's fingernails, but back, you know, in 1993, technology wasn't exactly, you know, where it is today. So there wasn't a whole lot they could do with it back then. And other than that, you know, the case, it went cold. They really had no leads to go on as to who had done this to poor Trisha. By 1997, it had gone dead cold. But Trisha's parents brought up to the police, you know, what Michael Gargiulo was doing, like sending them gifts, and they were like, there's something going on here, you know, maybe you should just question him. Maybe he knows a little bit more than he's letting on, and, you know, he was so close to the family. Well, he wasn't, like, super close, but they were well known. And so, when Michael was arrested for stealing a car in 1997, the police were like, hey, this is a great excuse to talk to him, ask him any questions about what happened to Trisha, see if he knew anything about her murder, you know, a couple of years prior. He refused to talk, though, to the police about what happened to Trisha. One thing, though, he did do was point the finger at a friend of his, saying he killed Trisha. Now the police couldn't link either Michael or this friend to the murder of Trisha Boccaccio, and so the case that was already cold went even colder.
God, you know...
The strangest incident, though, of all was what happened in the autumn of 1998. See, one day, Michael just showed up, you know, on the front door.
Sorry, guys.
Door of the Boccaccio home, saying, you know, knock, knock, knock. I need to speak to Trisha's dad, Rick. Now, Rick happened to be in work at the time, so Trisha's mother, she let Michael into the house, let him wait. Rick would be back in like an hour, so he sat down at the kitchen table waiting for Rick to come home, as if he had something very important to tell him. Trisha's mother said he was acting like real anxious, weird, he seemed upset. It seemed like he had something big on his mind he needed to get out of there. Rick then arrived, and just as Michael was about to speak with him, presumably tell them something super important or else he wouldn't be this upset, who burst in the door but Michael's dad and Michael's sister? They didn't knock, they just opened the door and practically dragged Michael out of the Boccaccio home, saying, okay, you know, he has to be somewhere, okay, thanks, bye. No one knows what Michael Gargiulo was gonna say to Trisha's parents that day. And they never saw him again. Shortly afterwards, Michael moved to Hollywood. In the good old City of Angels, February 2001, he struck again. It was the evening of the 21st of February, and Ashton Kutcher, hot shit at the time with that 7...
I know this. I've heard it from another content creator. He was gonna go out on a date after, like, to a Grammy party, and invited this real beautiful blonde girl. And when he showed up, he had scheduled a time to go and, you know, pick her up. And you would have thought that he, you know, being who he is, you know, during that time at the height of his fame, he would have just been like, fuck it, whatever. But no, he went to her house. He knocked on the door. He looked through the windows, and he said it looked like there was red wine that was spilt all over or something. So he just figured, she probably just partied and, you know, just took off and forgot or whatever. And he went about his, you know, evening. And then come to find out the next morning, they contacted him, telling him, you know, hey, were you the last person to have contact with her? And you know how that goes. So they brought him in for questioning. And, you know, luckily they found that fucking sicko.
His show had a date with 22-year-old fashion student Ashley Ellerin. Ashley was much like Trisha, outgoing, energetic. Ashley had been linked to a number of Hollywood stars, and she lived in a bungalow near the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So that night, Ashton and Ashley, they had agreed, you know, to go on a date. Now, the Grammys were actually on that very night, so Ashton called Ashley at around 8:24 p.m. He said, listen, I'm watching the Grammys on right now, but hey, after, let's go out for a few drinks and have a bit of a party. And then he said, listen, I'll call you when I'm on the way over, so, you can get your shit together. But when he called her later on that night, she didn't pick up. He arrived at around 10:30 p.m. to Ashley's place. Her car was there. He went up, he knocked on the door, the lights were on, but nobody was home. Ashley did have a roommate, but her roommate was out. That night, so Ashton was like... He peeked in the window and he saw what he thought was red wine, a red wine stain. Shock horror, it was not red wine that he was looking at. He assumed, though, he had been stood up, that she had gotten a better offer than going out for drinks with like a pretty popular celebrity in 2001. Okay. Anyway, he left. The very next morning, Ashley's roommate, she came home at around 9 a.m. and she found Ashley. Ashley Ellerin had been in the house, lying there dead the entire time, and her roommate called 911. Ashley, she was discovered in a hallway beside the bathroom door. It looked like, she had just gotten out of the shower when someone attacked her. She had been stabbed 47 times with defensive wounds, and her throat slashed so forcefully, her head had nearly been cut off. She had been attacked from behind, and there was no signs of forced entry, which doesn't necessarily mean, but the assumption was, she knew whoever attacked her. Michael Gargiulo was soon brought to the police's attention by pretty much all of Ashley Ellerin's friends because he was, quote, weird as shit. Also, quote, licking his chops at the thought of, doing murder. Okay, I made that up, but I'm paraphrasing here. How weird Ashley and her friends thought this prick was. He introduced himself to Ashley and her friend group as Mike, sullying the good Mike name. I won't stand for it. See, one day Ashley, she had a flat tire, and this Mike basically showed up, fixed it for her. He introduced himself as a repairman, and then from it, he just essentially glued himself to her and her friend group. He would show up unannounced and uninvited to all her parties, and I guess Ashley and her friends were just so nice. They didn't tell him to make like a tree and get the hell out of here.
That's creepy.
So he was in there like swimwear to her and her circle of friends. Now everybody thought he was weird, but he just kept being there. Like that really annoying friend you can't get rid of. They're just calling and showing up all the time. One day, for example, a friend of Ashley's, a guy named Justin, he was giving Michael a lift. And he said that out of nowhere, 1 second, Michael just grabbed his hand and started glaring at him with like real proper Manson lamps. Then later, he saw Michael parked outside his house with the engine running and the lights off. So Justin confronted Michael about, what the hell are you doing here at like 3 o'clock in the morning outside my house with your engine running, just parked there. That is like... It's hard to get a better definition of a serial killer than that. He told Justin that he couldn't go back home because the FBI were looking for him. They wanted to do a DNA test in relation to a murder, Trisha Piccacio's murder, back in Chicago. Michael, he lived just a block away from Ashley's, so he would show up all the time, unannounced. So this was all made apparent to the police sharpish when they were investigating Ashley Ellerin's very brutal and violent murder. Now, nothing he did could be linked to Ashley Ellerin's murder, and there was nothing really left behind to point to anyone, but with the general descriptions, by her friends about what kind of guy he was and how weird he was, the police started building a profile of him, including his real shitty tattoos. That's like Red Dragon, only shite. And they started looking into the various jobs he had over...
it really does make it difficult to react to him because he's just so spot on and perfect with everything that all you can do is just laugh and sit back and enjoy what he has to say, because... he's that good.
For the years. But, as I said, nothing could stick. And Ashley's murder, too, would go chilly over the years. Now, something really important is that the next attacks could have, and should have been prevented. Remember how he said, remember when he was parked outside Justin's place that night, he didn't want to go home because the FBI, the police were there trying to get his DNA? Well, they did. They eventually did get Michael Gargiulo's DNA, and guess what? It matched to the DNA found under Trisha Piccaccio's fingernails. So you think that's like, well, that's it right there. That's her murder solved right there. Only not so. The police stated sweet fuck all about now they had evidence that he could be directly linked to Trisha Piccaccio's murder. His DNA was there and he lived a 4-minute walk away. In fact, they started making up excuses for Michael as to how he didn't do it. Because, Michael was friends with Doug and he'd been in the Piccaccio house, loads of times. They were like, well, that DNA could have been transferred to Trisha somehow. So, it's not really enough. And so, Michael Gargiulo was free to be a serial killer in Los Angeles. The next murder occurred in December 2005, and it was even more gruesome. Maria Bruno, 32 years of age, was an aspiring model, and she told friends a weird guy had been following her around and bothering her. Maria had recently separated from her husband, Irving Bruno, and they had 4 kids together. The kids happened to be with their dad that night. On the 1st of December, the killer crept into Maria's apartment, stabbed her 17 times,
Jesus Christ.
cut off her breasts, and put one in her mouth.
There's a pool of blood. I'm looking at her right now. She's dead. She just barely moved to about less than a week ago.
She would be found by her estranged husband the very next morning. Now, no DNA, no evidence was left behind again, except this time there was a single blue surgical shoe cover remained in the apartment, and that was the only thing they had to go on. In 2008, 26-year-old Michelle Murphy was in her Santa Monica apartment, sleeping away on the night of the 28th of August.
Asshole.
The killer snuck in once again to her apartment while she was fast asleep. He went over to her, he got on top of her, straddled her, and started stabbing. This is like nightmare fuel. Now, Michelle, fair play to her, because Michael Gargiulo was a pretty strong guy and he practiced martial arts. She actually managed to fight him off. She managed to kick him off her and he went flying across the room. He then fled. He fled her apartment saying, as he was running, "I'm sorry." A bit late for that, pal.
Okay, what are you doing? The fire department is already on the way and we're going on with this person look like.
Fire department need the fucking cops.
Everything's dark.
You never know these guys. I'll call you in.
Maybe the most, I don't know, like 5:11 or something.
Michelle, she called the police, and this time there was a trail for them to follow. A literal trail, because in that scuffle, Michael had cut himself. So they could literally follow a blood trail out of her apartment towards Michael Gargiulo's place. See, at the time, Michael lived with his wife in an apartment literally right next to Michelle's, with an alleyway, the only thing separating them. Not much is known about Michael Gargiulo's childhood, but what is known isn't good. It's a familiar story though of like neglect and abuse, which turns normal kids into serial killers. He was born in 1976, one of 7 kids, growing up in the nice Glenview suburb just a few minutes away from Trisha's house. It appears he suffered physical and emotional abuse as a kid from his parents and his siblings, including being tied up and left in a closet for days without food or water. That type of shit would drive anyone, I think, insane. As a kid, others would say he was a bully, easily angered, and not a very good student either. He was involved in that vehicle robbery case I mentioned a while back, and also in a battery case in Glenview, so he had a bit of a record, but not serial killer. After the murder of Trisha, he moved to LA, I guess ostensibly, to flee the investigation, and he began working as a bouncer at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, a pretty famous place on Sunset Strip. He later be fired from there for beating the living shite out of a customer, but not before he told some of the other bouncers there a couple of stories. One story being that he had murdered someone back in Chicago. He had murdered Trisha. He also would admit to them a whole host of other murders that to this day
Why would you be bragging about
still
that?
up in the air. Now, the other bouncers thought he was just talking out of his arse, talking pure shite, so they didn't believe what he was saying. Michael would date numerous women, become a father at one point, and even marry a woman named Ana Gonzalez.
Mike Gargiulo.
He worked as a repairman and wannabe actor until his arrest. Michael left a trail of his blood from Michelle Murphy's apartment, essentially to his own place. The police, they tested that blood. They already had Michael Gargiulo's blood for, when they tested it for the Trisha Picaccio murder. And so, in June 2008, they arrested him. The police then searched Michael's apartment. They found blue surgical booties that were like the exact same as the ones found at Michelle Bruno's place. So they were thinking, well, that's kind of odd. That was weird. He wasn't a doctor, so why would he have these shoe coverings? And then they also learned that Michael lived in the same apartment building as Maria Bruno. He truly was the boy next door killer. Everybody he murdered, he lived right beside. He lived 4-minute walk from Trisha Picaccio. He lived like a block away from Ashley Ellerin. He lived right across from Maria Bruno, and he lived across the alley from Michelle Murphy. So the police, they went back to the apartment in the building he shared with Maria Bruno. Tucked away, hidden in the ceiling tiles, was a blue surgical shoe cover, the partner of the one they found at Maria Bruno's crime scene. Michael would then be charged with the murders of Maria due to the blue booty, Ashley, essentially his behavior fit the exact profile, and Trisha, the fingernail DNA. Also, the attempted murder of Michelle, and 2 women would come forward also. One accusing him of sexual assault, the other telling police she had to get a restraining order against him. So the boy next door killer would go on trial. Real sick freak, a real piece of work. He lived right beside all of his victims, liked to be close, I guess, and was he was just a weird freak. Can't even talk, I'm so upset. And sometimes, the killer is the person you least expect, A lot of other times, though, you're like, yeah, it's him. It's clearly him. He's weird as shit. Proper cuckoo. Look at the Manson lamps on him.
Suzanne, the loved ones of these women have waited for justice for so long. Today in the courthouse just behind us here, prosecutors will begin laying out their case against Michael Gargiulo. They are expected to seek the death penalty. He is charged with both murder and attempted murder in 4 different attacks.
Well, see, my truth is being 100% innocent, being wrongfully charged.
All I could do is be calm and fight for my innocence.
He went on trial in 2019, a long time after he was arrested.
For these attacks to be successful, not only to accomplish the ultimate goal of killing these women, or trying to kill these women, but the goal of not being caught, not being apprehended, not being detected, the timing of these attacks had to be perfect. Who would have the ability to time these murderous attacks so perfectly? Well, obviously, you have to know your victim. You have to know their routine, the people they hung around with, their comings and goings. Someone who knows the behavior of the friends, boyfriends, and roommates. Someone who perhaps studies legal, forensics, how to not get caught committing crimes. Somebody who knows. What better way to kill than to attack after someone had just left? Who's the first suspect going to be when the police begin investigating these crimes? It's going to be the boyfriend, the husband, the man who just left.
Title of court and cause. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Michael Gargiulo, guilty of the crime of attempted murder in violation of Penal Code Section 664/187A, a felony. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Michael Gargiulo, guilty of the crime of first-degree murder. We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Michael Gargiulo, guilty of the crime of first-degree murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony, who did unlawfully and with malice aforethought murder.
He was found guilty And in 2021, Michael Gargiulo was sentenced
to death.
This monster exists among us. How is it fair that one person's actions can destroy the lives of so many?
Gargiulo is also awaiting trial in Illinois, where he was charged in 2011 with killing an 18-year-old woman who was repeatedly stabbed on the front doorstep. Prosecutors there say the victim was the sister of one of Gargiulo's childhood friends.
His son, now a good bit older, argued that whatever he was still his dad, and he didn't want him to get the death penalty. Well, he was a lot of other things to 4 women and possibly countless more, so he got what he deserved. But in 2021, there was put in place a moratorium on state executions, so likely Michael will rot in prison for the rest of his unnatural life. And Shanae, that's that, the case of the Hollywood Ripper, the boy next door killer,
The big
asshole,
piece of
whatever you
shit.
want to call him. Likely responsible for many more murders than we will ever know. A pure psychopath, a stalker without remorse, and a killer without a conscience. And a sack of shit who will never breathe free air again. So great! Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here watching this whole video with this guy. It means a lot, so yeah, here, listen, if you want to watch more, that'd be cool too. But if not, you know, you do you. Here, listen, I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon, real soon, in the next whole video. But until then, please take care of each other and take care of yourselves. Because I love you. Mike out.
Like I was saying earlier, guys, he definitely deserves a lot of subscribers. So make sure you go back anytime you watch any of his videos. Give him that thumbs up sign. Alright? If you could donate, give to him what you can. I mean, 1.72 million. That's nothing to gawp at, but I mean, you see somebody like Mr. Ballin, and I use him just as an example. He's not a bad content creator, but I mean, he tells stories well. Mike and Adrian from Coffee House Crime, they're more thorough. Mike just happens to have this almost like a stand-up comedy, but tasteful towards the victims, but it's like, fuck you to the pieces of shit that are ruining other people's lives. And that's what I love about Mike. Mike-O, I gotta tell you, man, you are my favorite content creator on YouTube right now. I think it's gonna stay like that for a long time. So me saying that, thank you guys for watching me, watching him, and yeah, I hope you enjoy what I upload, and I will be back, and you will see me soon. So, peace.